So, what do you think is the single biggest threat to your organization's success? You might think it's failure, but it's not. It's standing still. Today, we're going to unpack a powerful blueprint for growth that argues the rules for avoiding stagnation are pretty much universal, whether you're running a company, a nonprofit, or even just a small team. Let's dive in. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to tackle why there's an urgency of now. Then, we'll get into 4 key strategies: harnessing synergy, building strength from the inside before you can have an impact on the outside, and finally, we'll look at the crucial partnership between vision and action. This quote just gets right to the heart of it. The biggest danger to any group isn't messing up, it's getting stuck. This idea that you can just kind of maintain where you are, it's a total myth. If you aren't actively moving forward, you are, by definition, falling behind. So our first section really dives into this head-on. This blueprint says that a sense of urgency isn't about panicking or running around like crazy. No, it's the fundamental antidote to decline. It's basically the starting block for any real, meaningful growth. And here's a really important distinction. This idea of urgency isn't about just being busy. It's a core mindset. It's this deep-down belief that the mission is just too important to put off, and it's too vital to let things just drift along. Okay, so if stagnation is the enemy, what's the first weapon we pull out? The blueprint points right to synergy. This is the force that fights back against what it calls a dysfunctional independence. That thing that can happen when everyone is working in their own little silo, even with the best intentions. The principle itself is, well, it's simple, but it's incredibly profound. When different people or teams work together, their strengths don't just add up, they actually multiply. The final result becomes way, way bigger than what any of them could have ever done on their own. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like something on a motivational poster, right? But what this blueprint is saying is that this should be the actual operational model for an entire movement. It's about getting everyone pulling in the same direction, breaking down those narrow points of view to create something truly impactful. The point is, synergy doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional about it. This brings us to a really core dynamic for any healthy organization: the balance between your internal strength and your external impact. And you really can't have one without the other. Before you can go out and make a difference in the world, you first have to build a really strong, healthy core on the inside. And here's the other side of that coin, and it's absolutely critical. All that internal strength, it's not just for its own sake. The real test, the ultimate yardstick of an organization's health, is its external impact. Is it actually fulfilling its mission? Is it reaching out and truly making a difference? To explain this whole in-out idea, the blueprint uses this fantastic metaphor. Think of the pasture as the internal space. That's where you do your training, your equipping, your growing. It's where the team gets strong. But the only reason for the pasture is to get everyone ready for the feeding ground. That's the external world, where the real impact and mission happens. One exists entirely to serve the other. And this isn't just some vague concept. The document asks a very direct, pretty challenging question. How can you tell if you're focused outward? Well, here's a simple, powerful metric: growth. How many new people, new clients, new members, whatever, are coming in the door? That number tells a pretty clear story about where your real focus is. So, if that outward growth is the key metric, where does it actually come from? The answer that's suggested here is, well, it might surprise you. Check this out. The blueprint reveals this really striking parallel. The rate of new growth an organization sees often lines up almost perfectly with the percentage of its own people who are activated and using their unique gifts. Just think about that for a second. The potential for new life on the outside seems to be directly connected to unlocking the potential that's already sitting on the inside. And that leads to a pretty sobering conclusion. When a huge chunk of your team isn't operating in their specific strengths, the entire organization's ability to have an impact, its fruitfulness, is just capped. You can't handle growth or achieve your mission if most of your key players are sitting on the sidelines. So, how do you fix that? How do you get people activated and really drive growth? Well, that brings us to our final section, which is all about a necessary partnership between 2 very different but totally essential styles of leadership. The blueprint breaks it down into 2 key leadership roles. First, you've got the visionary. This is your what and why person. Their main question is always, are we doing the right things? They paint that big, compelling picture of the future. But then you have the operational leader. They are all about the how.
Their question is, are we doing things right? They're the ones who build the systems and processes that actually make the vision happen.
And here's the crucial part. This is not an either-or situation. You can't choose. An organization with all vision and no operations, it's just a dream factory that never ships a single product. And an organization with perfect operations but no vision, it's just a super efficient machine going absolutely nowhere. You have to have both to get real sustainable growth.
All right, so to recap, the big ideas from this growth blueprint are pretty clear. We've got to choose urgency over stagnation and synergy over working in silos. We need to build our internal strength for the purpose of having an external impact. We have to activate the unique gifts of our people. And finally, we have to balance that big picture vision with disciplined, practical action.
You know, it all really boils down to a timeless principle, doesn't it? Sowing and reaping. It's a law of nature and it's a law of organizations too. You get back what you put in. If you're not intentionally sowing seeds of synergy or an outward focus or operational excellence, well, you just can't expect to reap a harvest of growth and impact. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Thinking about everything we've just talked about, what's one sowing action you could take this week? Just one small, intentional step that might plant a seed for some amazing, unexpected growth in your work or your community. Thanks for tuning in.